Hi, folks. How you doing? And thanks for joining today's webinar. I'm very delighted to have you with me here today. So I thought this would be a great time to do a webinar, kicking off in January, getting you ready for the year ahead. I suppose a lot of people take January as a time to set goals or change jobs or set out on a new pathway. So thanks so much for joining today. Just to kick off, I want to let you know that I plan on doing these every Monday. So next Monday, I'm going to do a continuation of this workshop for whatever we didn't get covered today. So please feel free to sign up and join that, and we'll see you there again next week. So firstly, well done on giving yourself this time to set out some plans for the new year, for developing your career, and really for making progress. You might have seen on the countdown screen as we were getting started. Today, I'm going to be referring a little bit to an online career development community. This is where I do workshops and webinars every day with people who are in the community. We touch on lots of different topics. They're interactive, so they're more like video calls where we can ask and answer questions, go really, really deep on smaller topics. But today, I'm going to give you an overview of lots of different points that go on during those workshops and in the community. If you do decide to join the community, you'll get access to all the resources you see on the screen there, from video materials to ebooks to workbooks and so on. Okay, you'll also get to interact with other people in the community, which is super, super fun. Okay, if you sign up at any time, you'll get access to this Changing Jobs and Building Confidence workbook. So you can download it, fill it in, use it straight away. You can get access to this today. You can sign up for it right now. It's a 36-page ebook, and it's got lots of details where, instead of you taking tons and tons of notes in this webinar today, you can just download that workbook and get all the info there too. Also, if you join today, you'll get 6 months of CV building software, right? This is professional CV building software, enhanced CV. As you can see on the screen there, if you were to sign up for 6 months for this yourself, it would cost you €88. You can sign up in the community today, and I'll send you a link to that, and you can access that for free. So already in this webinar, I hope you've received over €100 of value from being able to download the ebook and being able to do the enhanced CV CV building package, right? So on top of that, if you do decide to join the community, you'll get 7 days for free. Now, so to kick off, please ask your number one question in the comments, and I will do my very best to answer that throughout this webinar. This is an interactive webinar, so I really want to design it and deliver it based on your specific needs and the exact questions that you have. So please ask your questions in the comments, and then we'll come to a slide, which is a question slide, and I'll answer the questions there. If you've got any questions up front, that's going to be perfect. I'll end up answering some questions as we go through the content. So anyway, that's that. Now, who am I? Well, I'm Ronan. I'm a career coach. I have been doing this for, I've done over 3,830 hours of individual sessions, more than that because they're numbers from last year. I've worked with over 1,300 clients. I've got 4.9 stars on Google for working with people. And I've been doing this for over 8 years. Now, I'm not telling you that to sell myself. I'm telling you that because I want to make sure that this next hour is going to be of value to you. So this is really about showing you that, look, what we're talking about here has worked for people before, and it will work for you once you commit to it. So what is your biggest challenge when it comes to changing jobs? What do you struggle with the most? I'm going to be talking through the points that a lot of people struggle with, and hopefully they'll reflect some of what you're struggling with, and we can answer those questions and give you that value in this webinar. One of the craziest things I find is that if you don't know how much you have to offer, you'll end up underselling yourself, and even believing that you don't have enough skills or experience or knowledge or even education to get a great job. That's one of the things that people struggle with. So they don't know what they've got to offer, or they can't clarify it, they can't label it properly, they can't communicate it to others. Then they end up underselling themselves, and they end up getting jobs that don't use their skills and don't allow them to reach their full potential. The result of that is that they miss out on opportunities, or they never go for opportunities, And then they end up doing themselves an injustice. They do an injustice to the employer, maybe to the community that they're supporting, or the organization that they could help. So really, this is when you talk about selling yourself or presenting yourself or understanding your value, it's really about doing yourself justice, doing the people you're working for justice, and doing the organization, or the, let's say, whatever company or whatever mission there is, doing justice for that as well. Um, and the reality of this, what I found over the past 8 years, is once you understand the process, once you follow the steps and you commit to it, you're going to get a good result. And I'm going to show you how. We're going to touch on a couple of topics, and then in the community, we go into even more detail, and you can do the back and forth with me. Um, this is already up and running. There's workshops every day. So feel free to join tomorrow if you want to get started. So what do you want and what stops you? They're the two fundamental questions that you want to answer for yourself. So what do you want? What is your goal? What is your vision? What is your plan for the next year? What sort of job do you want? What sort of career do you want? You got to figure out what you want, and you've got to be clear about it. If you're not clear, it's very hard to go after it. And then the second thing is what stops you. So what are the obstacles? Are they psychological obstacles? Are they mindset obstacles, or are they actual obstacles? Like maybe you need more certification or more courses or whatever it is. So I find clarifying both of those. But as I said at the start, if you understand what you have to offer, if you understand your value, both of those become a whole lot clearer. Now, one of the big challenges that people come to me with is knowing where to start. They say, okay, all this makes sense. I have to know what I've got to offer. I have to have a goal, and I have to remove any obstacles in between, but I don't even know where to start. Okay, let me tell you a 4-step process. The 4-step process to changing careers is building confidence by identifying your skills, your strengths, and your achievements. That's the first ebook that I wrote, and it's available for you in the community. The second one is creating a compelling career vision and overcoming obstacles. The third one is developing opportunities through strong applications and targeted searches, right? So it's not enough just to know what you've got to offer. You also have to know where you're going to go, and then you have to bridge that gap. You have to, get from where you are to the market, and that is point number 3. Identifying those opportunities and creating strong applications where people sit up and kind of go, oh, it's worth listening to this person. It's worth interviewing them. It's worth calling them back and giving them this job. And finally, performing interviews by learning what to say and how to say it. That's really important as well. Because if you get stuck at any stage of the journey, then you're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to get the best job or the best opportunity. So if you find yourself getting stuck at any of those parts, well, then really that's where you have to narrow in. That's what you have to focus on. So ask yourself, where are you getting stuck? What do you not know? Where, like, are you getting loads of interviews, but you're not quite getting to the job offer? If so, that's where you're getting stuck. Do you not know what you want? In that case, point number 2, creating compelling career vision is what's really important for you, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to start with number 1, building confidence. Building confidence by identifying skills, strengths, and achievements. So when people come to me as individual clients, sometimes they feel they don't have skills or they don't have achievements. But often I find, like, let's say 99% of the time, almost always, unless somebody is at the very start of their career and they really haven't done anything, they've just finished school. But 99% of the time, people have skills, they have achievements, and they have strengths. They just don't know how to label them. So let's talk through that. But first, the key to building confidence, and that is victory stacking. So victory stacking is this idea where you write out what large or small victories you had in your career. You write out why those victories went so well. How did they make you feel? Did anyone give you compliments on them? What led to them going well? What did you learn from the experience? Basically, when you write out victories, it's like a gratitude exercise. What it does is it shifts your focus from anything that could be, let's say, negative or concerning for you to something that's positive. It allows you to focus on what's going well, what your achievements are, why you've got a lot to offer. And when you do that on a habitual basis, when you do that day after day, suddenly you're better at selling yourself. You're better at communicating your value. You're better at convincing not just the other person, but also yourself the value that you can bring. Whereas what happens sometimes is when people have a difficult moment at work, or a difficult boss, or a difficult job or employer, whatever it might be, the focus for 3 months or 6 months or a year is the things that are going wrong, the negative things, the challenges, the problems. And so I say, well, the antidote to that is to focus on your victories. So victory stacking day in, day out. Now, so when you tell people this, they say, yeah, of course, yeah, I'll do that. Sounds like a good idea. But you have to actually do it. You have to do it day in, day out. You have to do it as a regular practice. It's like going to the gym. This is like a mental gym. If you go to the gym once, you're not going to see that many differences. You might feel a little bit better that day, but then the next day, you got to go again. And the day after that, you have to go again. And that's how you build this like mental muscle of victory stacking, this mental muscle of focusing on the positive. And then when you go to an interview and someone says, why should we pick you? Why are you the best candidate? Well, you've been thinking of victories for like 30 days or 40 days or 60 days in a row. And you're able to say, here's the science. Your brain at positive performs significantly better than it does at negative, neutral, or stressed. Your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy levels rise. In fact, what we found is that every single business outcome improves. Your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. That's not from me. That's from a psychologist called Sean Aker. He's got a great TED talk called The Happy Secret to Better Work. What they found is that when people are positive, when they're focusing on the positive, when they're remembering positive memories, they're happier. When they're happier, they're better able to deliver results. So, one of the challenges, if you don't know your skills, you can find out about them in this ebook, but we've talked about those ebooks already, so just kind of want to go into the details here. That's what it looks like inside. But now we're going to do an exercise. So the exercise is writing down your primary skills. Now, when we think of primary skills, your primary skills are the core elements of your role. They're the things that people will pay you for. So what are the core elements of your role that people will pay you for? Often when you talk about transferable skills, people will tell you secondary skills like communication skills or attention to detail or interpersonal skills or, problem solving skills. But they're nice to have. People won't pay you for problem solving skills. There's not many jobs that will say problem solver. So when we think of primary skills, we want the core elements of your role. So here are some examples. Administration, client relationship management, sales and customer success, marketing and public relations, event management, merchandising and promotions. They're all examples of primary skills, core elements of your role. So as we go through these, or as you see them on the screen there, please take a note of your top 2 or 3 primary skills. What are they? Another way to think of this is if you broke your job down into 3 or 4, or let's say 2 or 3 core elements, what would they be? What is the value add? In my case, if you said, well, what do you do? Like, what are the 2 or 3 elements of your role? Well, I would say, coaching and mentoring and business development. So I do coaching and mentoring with my clients on a one-to-one basis. And business development is a nice capture all. Like, it talks about all the other elements of what I do. Whether it be, marketing or creating presentations or putting videos together or updating a website or, all those types of things, talking to the accountant, all that sort of stuff, in my case, is business development. So coaching, mentoring, and business development. And what that does is it lets us focus on the 2 or 3 big elements of your role. And then when people are interested in what you've got to offer, they can go deeper. They can say, tell us more about the coaching, tell us more about the mentoring or the business development. Okay, so when you look at that list there, one of the topics people get stuck on is project management. Project management seems to bring up a little bit of confusion for people when we talk about it. So what is project management? Well, so what is a project? Well, project is anything that has a start and a finish and a key outcome, right? It's got to be a defined outcome. And then there's resources that we use or resources that we employ along the way. So if you've got a clear start, a clear end, and a specific outcome, and you've got certain resources to use upon the way, and then you have a timeline to deliver that, well, that now is a project. So if you have ever done anything like that and you've done it well, then we could say you've got project management skills, right? That's fine. So you could say project management is a skill. But just as an example, when I talk about these types of things, I don't want you to feel like I'm saying you should be a project manager or a good job as a project manager. What I'm saying is it is a skill. Some of these are also job titles, but we're not talking about job titles here. We're just talking about skills. So It is a skill, and you think of it as a skill. And two or three of these skills can add up to be a job. Okay, so just make that distinction between primary skills and job titles. Okay, now moving on to secondary skills. Now these are the nice to have. These are the elements that make up the these are made up in the job, and they're made up of primary skills as well, or they make up primary skills as well. So delegation and monitoring, for example, conflict resolution, creative thinking. If you go to the other side, public speaking, numeracy and analysis, forward thinking. So write down what your top secondary skills are. What are the skills you want to be part of your brand? What do you want to identify as? What do you want people to think of when they think of you? Maybe you want them to think you're a good relationship builder, or you're good at team building, or you've got very good emotional intelligence. Maybe you want them to think you've good influencing skills, or that you're a very adaptable person. Okay. One of the ones here that people can get stuck on sometimes is commercial awareness on the left-hand side. Right? Commercial awareness. What is commercial awareness? Are you commercially aware? So if you think of being commercially aware, usually it refers to, do you understand the cost benefit of undertaking a specific task or initiative? Do you understand that there has to be a return on investment? That if you if the organization spends on something, that need to get something back. So if you think of return on investment, or understanding the cost benefit of something, or even just being aware that an organization has to make the numbers work, they have to make money, they have to have customers, or they have to have clients, right? They have to be financially viable. All those types of things are different ways of defining commercial awareness. So do you have commercial awareness skills? So I hope you've had a chance to write down your primary and secondary skills. Now, so taking those learnings and moving on, one of the issues people have is, okay, they'll say, well, I've listed my primary and secondary skills now, but I still don't know how to sell myself, or really I don't feel comfortable selling myself. So if you don't know how to sell yourself, this is kind of a quick branding exercise. And what we do here is we start with your skills, but we also outline the various other facets of your career, or let's say your personal brand. So your skills, your achievements, your responsibility, abilities that you might have, soft skills, education, maybe a passion that you want to talk about, any specialist knowledge you have, or other strengths or attributes. So we talked about skills already, primary and secondary skills. We can also think about achievement. So what is a big achievement that you have? Or what are 2 or 3 achievements that you have that you really want to highlight? Maybe it's a big project that you worked on. Maybe it's landing a really big customer. Maybe it's completing a degree, or a master's degree, or a PhD, or maybe all 3. Maybe it's getting into a prestigious college. Okay, maybe it's leading a team of 10 people when everyone had to go remote working and the whole world was turned upside down because of COVID. So what is a big achievement that you have? And take a moment to write that down. If you feel like you need more time, maybe just write down a couple of words, and then you can flesh them out later after the webinar. A lot of the points we're talking through here, I'm just giving you an overview, and I'm giving you some ideas and some tips and some suggestions. If you really want to workshop it, if you really want to go through it in detail and have the back and forth with me, that's where the community comes in really well. So check the comments below to look into the community a little bit more. Next, we can think about an ability. So whether you have an ability to communicate with diverse groups of stakeholders, or maybe you've a strong ability to solve complex problems, or perhaps you're very good at negotiating and making sales. Maybe you're good at de-escalating conflict. Perhaps you're good at putting together compelling sales pitches, or maybe you're the best person to win clients, or maybe you're very good at writing reports and communicating with stakeholders externally. So what is an ability you have, or some people would call it a proven ability? Soft skills, interpersonal skills, empathy, emotional intelligence, communication, all that sort of stuff. Education, I think, is straightforward enough. Most people would know what that's about. Passion. So what are you passionate about? Now, remember, you can be passionate about a topic or a process. You could be, for example, being passionate about a topic would be being passionate about sport or technology or innovation. You could also be passionate about a process. For example, if you're passionate about fostering a collaborative team environment, right? That would be one example. Or maybe you're passionate about, um, improving technology, or maybe you're passionate about seeing team members grow. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about a specific subject and a topic, or a process that you follow? Do you have any specialist knowledge? So specialist knowledge, think of a thesis you wrote in college, or think of what your PhD is on, or think of what you spend all your time reading about in your spare time. Um, or think about your main hobby. That could be specialist knowledge, especially if it's related to your work. And then strengths are nice capture all for any other points we didn't put in there. And personal attributes are like resilience, perseverance, hard work. All those sort of things are attributes. So what are your personal attributes? So when you put all those together, you can create a professional profile. Professional profile is like 5, 6, maybe 7 sentences, not too many, but let's say a couple of sentences you can use to present yourself, sell yourself, firstly to yourself, so you can understand really what you've got to offer, and then afterwards to other people. You can also put it on your LinkedIn, you can put it on your CV. So I've written a couple of points here on the screen just to give you an example of what I mean by professional profile. So in the first point, I'm talking about skills, like a professional with 5 years experience in customer service, project management, business development. Or another example is a professional manager with a degree in business and experience working in large and small teams. Then an example of an achievement would be successfully designed a process that allowed businesses to market and sell products globally. So these are all just examples of different ways you can communicate those previous points in a professional profile. Okay. So you can obviously take those structures, adjust them for yourself, change the skills, change the keywords, and make it fit your own profile. Some more points. Okay, extensive project management experience in relation to people management, training, and team leading. Responsible for building and developing relationships with internal and external stakeholders. Strong knowledge of economic and social issues with vast experience in client relationship management. So you get the idea. I'm trying to be really specific. I'm trying to create a personal brand. I'm trying to outline, really key points, but I'm also trying to be concise as well. I never want to use any more words than I need, and I never want to have the sentence longer than it needs to be. It should be specific. It should sell you well. It should have the key points in there. It shouldn't be too long. So that's the first part. That's about building confidence by understanding your skills, strengths, and achievements. I'm going to take a quick look at the comments to see if anyone has asked any questions. So thanks, Olivia. Olivia says attention to details and relationship building are some of her secondary skills. Good on you. And business development and communication are two of your primary skills. Absolutely. Very valuable skills. Communication is a super one. When you think of communication, I'm glad Olivia mentioned that, because that is something that confuses, like a lot of people actually have, but it confuses people a little bit. Because when we think about communication, it's interpersonal communication, like making sure you're understood, making sure you're heard, that you listen, that you ask good questions, all that sort of stuff that you do one-to-one. But communication is also, you can think of it also as like group communication or mass communication, also known as like communication and PR. That's where someone is trying to convey a specific message or craft a story and deliver it to a wider audience, so that the wider audience, no matter who they are, where they come from, or what their background is so that they can understand exactly what is being communicated. So, for example, global governments all over the world had to do a massive communications campaign during the COVID-19 pandemic. They had to tell us to wear masks. They had to tell us about the risks, dangers, about the supports that are available. So they were doing a huge communications effort to show us and tell us how to keep safe during the pandemic. Okay, so thanks for those points, Olivia. Now let's push on. The second part is creating a career vision and overcoming obstacles, right? As I said, with all of these key sections, there is an accompanying ebook available in the community. That's where I go into all this in specific detail. It's all written out there for you in black and white. Okay. So, what is success for you? This is really important because before you embark on actually achieving your goals, we need to know what they are. So, do you want to work remotely? Do you want to earn as much as possible? Do you want to work with nice people? Maybe you want to contribute to a certain cause. Um, Maybe you want a certain job title or you want to get into a certain industry. Maybe there's a company that you particularly like and you really want to work for. So, what is success for you? And when you understand what success is, then it's going to be much easier to achieve. Um, so, I think it's good to ask yourself that question and then also ask, what does it give you? For example, if you said, well, success for me would be getting the title of manager or the title of director, then ask yourself not just what you get, but also what does it give you? So if it gives you the opportunity to develop personally or connect with other people or achieve personal goals, then that's great. But if it's just success for the sake of success, you might want to rethink that. Um, so ask yourself not just what success is for you, but what it gives you underneath that. If you said, well, success for me is being able to work remotely, then the question is, well, what does that give you? And then you might say, well, control over my day or freedom or the ability to, have an alternative time schedule, then that makes lots of sense. If you said, I want to do remote working because I don't like being in the office, well, then maybe it's a time to reevaluate that and think, well, is that really the best thing for you? So, what is success for you? Another example would be, let's say you want to work for an organization because they help a certain cause. Sure, you could totally focus in on that organization, put all your eggs in on that one basket, but you could also ask yourself, well, if the goal of that is so I can help contribute to that cause more, let's say helping animals or helping the environment become more sustainable, then you could say, well, what are all the other ways I could achieve that level of success or that type of success? And then you really expand your options. So, what is your success? What is success for you, and how do you achieve that? Next, so creating a career vision, right? We talked about needs already. We talked about success, but as part of the success, how do you meet your needs, your values, your interests, and your skills? So your priorities. So your career vision is really composed of these 5 different elements. Your skills allow you to allow you to achieve your salary and maintain a salary and hold that value in the market. Your needs are what you need to have. They're not nice to have, they're need to have. So, for example, one of our needs is certainty. We want to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. We want predictability. Um, that's super important. But other people also want growth. If all they have is certainty and everything's predictable, but they don't feel they're going anywhere or they feel they're stagnating, they say, well, sure, I know I've got a salary. I know how to do my job. I've got nice colleagues and all that, but I'm not growing. In that case, they would have a need for growth as well. So what are your needs? You can also ask yourself, what's not working for me at the moment? Is it a case of I don't have growth or I don't have connection with my team or with my manager, or do I feel like I'm lacking significance? Maybe I don't feel I'm listened to, or what is it? What is not working for you at the moment? It's a great way to figure out the core of your issue, get to the root cause of your issue, so that you can make sure you solve it going forward, not just change the way it looks. For example, let's say if somebody really wanted to have growth in their next role and they weren't having it at the moment, or let's say somebody didn't like their current role, so they want to go to a new role. Okay, you go to the new role. But if the new role doesn't give you growth, then you just changed one job for another job and still not met your needs, in which case you can still be dissatisfied. So it's really important that you make sure your core needs are met. Okay. Then values. Values are nice to have. What's important to you? What do you value? Do you value freedom, autonomy, health? What might you value? I'll go into those in a little bit more detail. Then your interests. I'll go into the values a bit more detail in the next couple of slides. Then your interests. What are you interested in? What's fascinating for you? What do you read about? What do you watch documentaries about? What do what industries really spark your attention? And then when you have all those things, let's say you write all those things down in a big list, and you write them all over your notepad, and you spend all Saturday, drinking tea, drinking coffee, and writing down your career vision. At the end of it, you have to come to some sort of decisions, and you do that by refining them based on your priorities. So, what is a priority for you, and what is not a priority for you? And your priorities are priorities because one thing is a higher priority than the other thing, right? So, for example, my top priority now is doing this webinar. I might also want to have a cup of tea, right? I do, but my top priority is doing this webinar. Okay. So, what skills do you want to use in your next role? In primary skill set, you wrote down all the sort of skills that you have. So you might have written out 3 or 5 or 10 different primary skills. Like you could have project management, communication, administration, client relationship management, sales, customer service. You could have loads of them written out. But in order for you to refine and focus on what you want to do next and communicate that with a potential employer or potential client, you have to figure out what skills do you want to use next. So what are your top 2 or 3 that you want to use next? Okay, what do you need? What do you value? And here is an example of the values, right? So autonomy, camaraderie, health, money, creativity, innovation, security, support, growth. These are all examples of values. Some of them are needs also, but most of them are just values. So if you write down all your values, and sometimes people say, well, Ronan, I want all of those. Okay, yeah. So then after that, you have to prioritize. And how do you prioritize? Well, let's say you write down 10 values. You might write down uh, autonomy, camaraderie. You might write down, money, innovation. And then you have an opportunity. Do you want autonomy more, or do you want creativity more? What is more important for you? And then you have to decide. In that case, you might say, well, I want creativity. Okay. So if you want more creativity, then maybe you're open to collaborating more with people. And then after that, it's autonomy, right? So it just helps you prioritize and helps you refine your thought process on this. Okay. In terms of interests, I think it's good I touched on it before, but it's good to reiterate. Are you more focused on the content of what you're doing or the process? This is where sometimes people can get stuck. They might say, I'm really interested in, sport. I'm interested in technology, or I'm interested in fashion, or I'm interested in health, whatever it might be. They're all content. They're all specific topics. So if you want to do something in those, that's fine. But also, please remember, there's also lots of jobs that are process orientated. Let's say people, all the business side, all the non-technical side, they're all process orientated jobs. So if someone is interested in, let's say, football, for example, you could say, well, I want to be a football player. But then they get disheartened because they say, well, what are the chances of me becoming a football player, right? Not very high. And you could say, yeah, but if you're still interested in football, right, it doesn't have to be just the topic or the content that you're doing. You could do all these jobs on the other side, which are all on the business side, or they're all on the organization side, and you're still involved in what you're interested in. So you could be doing operations, you could be doing management, you could be doing logistics, you could be doing sales, you could be doing marketing for the football team. All those things are on the other side of the same interest. So remember, it's not just the technical thing of doing the fashion or doing the sport or doing the music. It's also all the stuff on the business side or the operational side or the organization side, whichever way you like to call it. Okay. And we talked about your priorities as well. Then after that, you have to match your vision to the market. So how do you match your vision to the market? Well, it's not just a case of saying, these are all the things I want now. Please go out and get them for me. We also have to be realistic. We have to say, well, how does this fit into the market? So what I've come up with to deal with that challenge is a career canvas. This is where you can write down all the topics we spoke about so far: skills, strengths, needs, values, interests, priorities. And then you can also write down some other ideas, like job titles that might be interesting for you, or keywords you would use to help refine exactly what you're looking for. And you could also think about routes to market, whether you go for recruiters, or you use your contacts, or you go to LinkedIn, or you go to Indeed, or you decide you want to go to events. So you collect all your ideas, all your career vision, all on one canvas, all on one page. And then that allows you to focus on where you want to go next. Now, with that canvas there on the screen, you can then say, okay, now, How do I make this work in the market? How do I find these opportunities? So you can find them by using the bottom three boxes there: job titles, keywords, and routes to market. You can use those three tools or those three methods for finding where the jobs exist. So search for the job titles on Indeed or LinkedIn. If that doesn't work, use keywords, whether it be sport, fashion, whether it be project manager or sales or business analysis or product management or whatever it might be. Use those keywords to find the sort of roles you're looking for. And then you can see, okay, lots of them are coming up or nothing's coming up. In that case, you have to refine your search or refine what your vision is to make sure it works with the market. Because it's not just a case of getting lucky and finding one opportunity. Not for most people. For most of us, we need lots of opportunities. So one of the things I would say when people come to me is, where are you getting stuck? Are you finding enough interesting opportunities to apply for? And if they're not, I want to know what their job search strategy is. Are they using job titles? Are they using the right keywords? Are they refining the keywords, changing the keywords? Do they have enough channels like routes to market? Like, are they going to recruiters? Are they going to Indeed and LinkedIn? Are they using their network? Are they going to events? Are they maybe reaching out to individual companies that they like and respect and contacting them and making a pitch or a proposal to them? So they're all the different kind of questions you can think about when you're thinking, how does my career vision fit into the market? Questions. I'm going to pop back over to the comment section and see if anyone has any burning questions. Okay. All good there, it seems. Lucy says, which of these skills, achievements, attributes, and abilities are most important to reflect on your LinkedIn profile, or should you try strike a balance? Lucy, I think it's really a case of thinking about the way you want to brand yourself. So if you want to brand yourself with, let's say, project management, or you want to brand yourself as a salesperson, then you can think of having a consistent narrative. Okay. So if you're talking about sales, then you can make all your profile speak to sales and reflect that. If you want to talk about, let's say, project management, then you want to make your profile consistent with project management. It's really about, having a consistent profile that makes sense based on your target market. It's kind of like if you have a product or a service that you're selling to somebody, you have to say, well, what exactly are you what exactly are you selling and what are the customers really looking for? And then refining the message based on that. Okay. So thanks for those questions. Now back to it. We're talking next about developing quality opportunities. So again, there is a ebook in this, developing quality opportunities through tailored applications and targeted searches. So that's in the, you can find that in the community. Now, so your CV is a factual account of your career and background, whereas a cover letter is an expression of interest in the job, the company, and the products or services. So the CV and the cover letter are not just the same document, both repeated. They're different. We want to use both of them because that's when we get a chance to sell ourselves twice. You get to sell yourself in the CV and the cover letter. If you only write in the, if you only do a CV and everyone else does a cover letter, then you might miss out there. So I think it's best to do both the CV and the cover letter for those two reasons. You get to sell yourself twice and you avoid not missing out. And of course, you want to say different things. So the CV is about facts and the cover letter is an expression of interest. So some top tips on writing a compelling CV. Use powerful words and phrases to describe your work. Okay. Tailor it to the specifications of the job. Okay. So you can tailor a profile. You can tailor your current responsibilities to the job that you're going for. So they can look at your CV and say, this person is already doing what we want. And then we can make sure, we feel comfortable that, they're able to do what we want them to do. Be detailed by outlining what you did and how you did it. So be detailed, be specific. One way of doing this is to not just say what you did, but also say what you did and how you did it, and also why you did it. Um, Once you do that, you'll be able to go into more detail and give them more clarity. You don't always need to say how you did it and why you did it, but they're good questions to ask yourself because they allow you to extract more information and more value from yourself, and that allows you to sell yourself better to them. Always add metrics to give yourself to give your experience weight, whether it be years that you've worked on something, whether it be sales that you've achieved, whether it be followers that you've helped to gain, whether it be cost reduction that you've achieved for the organization. Always add metrics to give your experience weight. Demonstrate diversity of your ability by discussing different aspects. Like you can talk about the technical side, you can talk about the organizational side, the relational side, the commercial skills. That point confuses people, so I should explain it a little bit more. So when you think about the technical side, what are the exact details of your role? What are the ins and outs? Like, let's say if you're a finance person, obviously the ins and outs of, let's say, working on a mergers and acquisitions project, or setting up the financial accounts, or being able to achieve a cost saving. That's all very specific and technical. If you're talking about managing the finance function, then you'd be talking about the organizational element, whether it be building the team, whether it be project managing, moving to a new IT system so we can streamline the IT services. That would be an organizational type of activity. The relational would be like the interpersonal stuff. So whether it be speaking with clients, stakeholders, banks, external stakeholders like government officials, or maybe internal ones like board of directors or senior management. All those points just allow you to think about your current job responsibilities from different perspectives so that you can communicate what you're doing in a very comprehensive way. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Finally, commercial skills, right? The cost savings, the sales you're making, the return on investment that you've achieved, basically the financial or the monetary value that you brought to an organization. Finally, you should check your CV for clarity, correctness, and delivery, right? Some words to use, right? If you struggle getting the right phrases, right, you can look at some of these words. They might help you out. Planned, devised, achieved, developed, liaised, evaluated. I like starting every sentence with a powerful verb because it tells us straight away what you did, right? If you planned, if you devised, if you achieved, we know exactly what you did from the very first word. Okay. So next, that's an example there. Sorry, the from the paraphrases one there. Liaise with key stakeholders to deliver, or responsible for the end-to-end development, or successfully designed, developed, implemented. It tells us exactly the 3 steps you went through to deliver what you needed to. There's some other phrases there that you might like to pick out and then make your own, tweak them as you see fit. So whether you're a self-starter, and whether you built and maintain relationships, collaborated with a cross-functional team, or met and exceeded revenue targets. Even more phrases just to show you how much, how many different ways you can talk about yourself. By the time you finish this, you might think, geez, I'm really great. I'd like to hire myself. I've written so many nice things about myself. So hopefully you're starting to see your own value when you think through all these different points, and you think back through your experience, and you look at your CV and you think, yeah, I did implement efficient and effective improvements to the project, or I did innovative solutions to a technical issue, or I did have to work on lots of high value projects. That project was worth like €1 million or $1 million. Or I did work on the strategy and set goals. So whatever those phrases are, take them, make them your own. Okay, we talked about those 4 different perspectives before. Okay, just going into it a little bit more detail there. I call it TORC: technical, organizational, relational, and commercial. So the technical perspective refers to doing the technical tasks. The organizational refers to organizing and managing tasks. The relational is all about working with people, and the commercial is about the marketing, the selling, the return on investment, the making efficiencies, and so on. Now, we're doing well. Let's go into some cover letter tips, right? So If you're writing a cover letter, one of the biggest questions I get asked when talking about cover letters is, what do you put in there? Well, here's what you put in there. You put in an introduction, right? You might refer to the job. You might refer to the company. You might talk about something that they've done well, or their position in the industry. They could be number one or number five, or in the top 10 charities in the country, or something like that. You can talk about your primary responsibilities. So if they're looking for someone to do relationship management, sales, and administration, you can talk about those in the opening couple of sentences or the first paragraph, saying that you've got experience delivering a wide range of administration tasks, selling to both high value customers, and clients, and then and so on. The next one: what's unique about you, or what's special about you? What do you like about the job, and what attracts you to the company? In other words, what's special about you, what's special about the job, and what's special about the company? They are the 3 points that make up a good cover letter. When you have those in there, it really allows you to stand out amongst everyone else who might have just wrote something generic. If you write what's special about you, like an X factor that you have, or let's say they want someone who speaks Romanian, or they want someone who speaks Polish, or maybe they want someone who has lived in Spain and they understand Spanish culture, or maybe they want someone who is from the automotive industry and has a background there and knows how to speak to clients there. You can identify those types of things as being special about you. You can also say, what do you like about the job? Like if you pick out one or two of the responsibilities and say, you can almost quote it and say, I really like this about the job. It sounds very interesting for me. And that's why I'm attracted to it. That's why I want to do this job. And then when they receive it, they think, wow, this person really sounds interested in our job and our company. So we know they're going to come in happy to work. Imagine this, even if no one ever reads this cover letter, but you write it and they call you in for an interview, because you've done the preparation of thinking through all these points and thinking through exactly why you want the job, why you want to work for the company, and what's special about you. Whenever they ask you these types of things in an interview, you're already prepared, you're already ready, because you've done the groundwork. What attracts you to the company? You might look at what their services are, what their product are, what their mission is, the type of people they serve, their contribution to the environment, their impact on the economy. There's lots of different ways of seeing, what does this organization do that you like? What do they do that you value? And how do you want to be a part of their mission? It will make them feel good, because they'll feel like they're working in a good organization. And it will show that you've researched the organization and that you're interested in them genuinely. What sets you apart from others? If you have any X factor that you haven't touched on already, now is your chance to put it in there. And then you can sign off with your sign off and any little summary, like, I would embrace the opportunity to work for you. There's an example of the sort of points I ran through there, and you would just fill in the blanks. There's a couple of phrases you can use, so feel free to take a screenshot of that if you want. But it's also on my website, so you can download it there, and no problem. That is a sample cover letter. You fill in the details. Just make sure you change it for each company you go for. Otherwise, it will look, it won't look great. An application checklist for you. So make sure you tailored your application. Make sure it's clear, engaging, and easy to follow. Make sure it follows a structure related to the audience, and so on. There is an application checklist that you can go through one by one. Now, keywords. Keywords, I guess I really want to talk about keywords today, because I think it's one of the strategies that has worked so well for so many of my clients, but not everyone uses it, or not everyone knows it works. If you ask somebody, how did you find that product on Google? They'll say, well, I just typed in a bunch of words and it popped up. And you can put in lots of random words, and whatever you're searching for pops up, and you can refine it, take words out, add words in. Keywords work the same on job search sites. It's the exact same type of search methodology. It's called a Boolean search. So you can search for keywords that have an exact phrase, that have all of the words, at least one word, none of a word. So, for example, let's say you're searching for, UX designer role, but you didn't want a UX designer for a certain type of company. Let's say you didn't want to work in finance. You could put in UX and you could put a minus finance, and you would remove finance from all your searches and you'd have UX in there still. So that's just a very quick example of how you could use a Boolean search to really refine down and not just use Indeed and LinkedIn to search for job titles for specific jobs. You can search for specific keywords by using this technique. Okay, great. So, folks, we are coming just to the end of the presentation for today. I hope it has been interesting for you. I hope you found it useful. I want to give you a few moments just to answer any last questions you might have. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat now, and I'll make sure I see them just before we finish. I would like to keep going and do a few more slides if I can, but I just want to check the questions first. So Sarah has come in and said, how would you tailor CV or application towards a role you haven't previously done, but have the ability and previous experience in a different role within the same industry or you're looking to get into? So how would you tailor a CV towards a role you haven't previously done, but you have the ability and the experience in a different role? So at the top of your CV, Sarah, you can write a profile, or that's your professional brand that I talked about at the start. And in that, because it's at the top of your CV, it's removing the focus from your current title, right? Your current job title. And you can talk about the elements of your role that you've done before that match that new job. And in that way, you're creating a narrative for exactly how you can do that new job. You can talk about the skills you've used, the achievements you've done. You can talk about very specific keywords. So let's say if this was a marketing job, I'd be talking about followers. I'd be talking about, the tools you use like Google Analytics or LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. I'd be talking about, digital marketing strategy, cost of acquisition. You'd be using all the specific keywords of that new job that you're going for to create a profile, to create a brand that shows that you are well able to do this job, that you've got all the information that you need. The second part of your question, I've changed the keywords and tailored it, but recruiters pick up on my previous roles instead. So even though you've tailored it, they're still going to the previous roles. So in that case, if you have the ability to, it's not always possible, but if you have the ability to change what the job title is, sometimes people do, if they have control over their own job title, they can make it more generic. And if that doesn't work, what you can do is reach out to recruiters and have a conversation with them first, and just deal with that issue up front. And that's a good kind of point for any sort of roadblock that you have. If you find that you're continuously getting knocked back by the same issue, or people are judging you before you get a chance, it's good just to deal with that up front by saying, I know that this is an issue and this is an issue and this is an issue, but here's how I deal with those three things, and just deal with them so that you can overcome the beliefs that they have. Now, if that doesn't work, if you're saying you might say to me, look, Ronan, I've done all those things. I've tailored my CV. I've applied for jobs and recruiters are still pushing me back. In that case, you need to find somebody who's open-minded, who's open to seeing how you've done one thing before and you can do a different thing next. And there's always people, because lots of people change jobs. For example, in Ireland, one of our previous prime ministers changed jobs. He was a doctor and now he's a politician. So all you need to do is find people who are open-minded and then talk to them. If you haven't been able to overcome the obstacles or the beliefs that these particular recruiters have. The next question you ask is, how would you talk positively or mention a short career break at an interview or CV application, or do you focus more on experience or skills? Well, if you had an interview, I think it's good to highlight why you've been on the break and to talk about it. Otherwise, if it comes up and it's in the back of their head and they're concerned about it, you really have to deal with that up front. I don't think it's a good idea to just ignore it or pretend it isn't there. So in that case, I would discuss it. I would be honest. I would say, so if we were doing a session right now, Sarah, I would say, well, why did you take the break? What was the issue? So typically people will say when they take career breaks, they'll say, well, I went on a holiday, or they'd say, maybe they were having a tough time personally. Maybe they're looking after someone in their family. So if you're having a tough time, if you had a tough time personally last year, let's say, or if someone in your family was having a tough time, they need to be cared for. In both of those circumstances, saying that you're caring for someone in the family is a way to deal with that. It's honest. If you care for yourself, I mean, you are in your own family, or if you care for someone else, they are in your family. So saying you cared for someone, which was a reason to take a career break, or if you wanted to go back to education, saying, well, I went back to education, so I'm even more prepared for what I want to do now. And I reflected on these jobs over the last 3 months or 6 months. And I'm here in front of you because I spent a lot of time thinking about what I want to do, and making sure that's the best next choice for me. Um, and in that case, you're really just saying that you've taken a very thoughtful approach. You haven't rushed into a new job. And if I'm honest, and this is my personal opinion, I think taking career breaks and taking time out is becoming more and more acceptable. So once you overcome that, and really what you want to do in that moment, just confirm that, give them certainty, give them clarity that you are a safe pair of hands, that you are a trustworthy, reliable person. And once you do that, those other issues will go away. So whatever you can do to instill trust, instill the belief that you're going to be reliable, or confirm to any uncertainties that they have, then you're going to be able to refocus the rest of the interview on communicating your value and selling yourself. But if those issues aren't dealt with, my concern is that people still be worried about it or thinking about it. So the whole point of an interview is to convey certainty, right? Certainty that you're the right person, that you can work, that you're going to be stable, that you're going to stay in the job. And once you deal with that in the interview, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So thanks for those questions. I've got another question down here from Ramona Elena, cool name. Please offer your opinion on and experience with narrative CVs and professional bios versus CVs. Thank you. So really, I think it's going to depend on the organization that you're going for. If you're writing a narrative CV and you're going to an organization that's going to appreciate that, I would imagine a more creative organization would appreciate that. Then I think that makes sense. Like if you're going for any job that requires writing or communications or long form content, I think writing a narrative CV, once it's concise and sells yourself well, I think that makes sense. If you're going for something that's very like analytical, like a business analyst or an actuary or a finance professional, I think maybe it won't come across as well because that's not the way they communicate. So the point is really that you have to communicate the way the people you're speaking to will listen and interpret it as well as possible. For example, if you're going for a government job, typically you have to fill in a big application form or you have to submit a black and white CV. That's not the same as if you're going for a job in a creative marketing agency, in which case submitting a graphically designed CV is going to make more sense. So you should submit that and use colors and use icons and diagrams, all that sort of stuff. So what is the target audience going to appreciate, and then speak to that. I think that is the best thing to do. Okay, fantastic. So I think I have answered all of those questions. Now, we didn't get a chance to go on to the next part, which is performing interviews, but that's okay because next week we can follow up on same time, Monday, 5:30 next week. We can follow up, and I'm going to take it from this slide, performing interviews, where we can talk about standard interviews questions, dealing with the strengths and weaknesses question. We can talk about how you deal with competencies, all of that sort of good stuff. Thanks so much for joining the webinar. I hope you learned a ton from it. I really appreciate everyone who asked questions and engaged. Makes it more interesting for me, and it makes me really figure out the right answer and work hard to deliver as much value for you as possible. If you want to do workshops every day, Monday to Thursday with me online, where we have two-way video, you can ask questions, I answer questions, you get feedback, you get answers. Please join the community. The link is in the comments. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for part 2. Thanks so much and have a great evening.